My name is Elias Pappas. I am currently the CEO at Odyssey Charter School. I am a Greek American. Both of my parents are Greek, from Greece, and so are my grandparents. And so I'm 100% Greek in that sense. I'm from Los Angeles, California, specifically Van Nuys, California, in the San Fernando Valley, where I was born and raised and stayed for over 45 years. I'm a member of St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church in Northridge, California. Was a member, was baptized there by Father Thanos in 1976, and have been a part of that community since I was born. Went to the school, graduated from there K-8, went to Sunday school there, did Greek dance, did Goya basketball there. I also gave back to the community as a booth captain over there for the Greek festival, and also served the community as a Greek dance director, bringing kids to FDF every single year, dance groups year after year. So I've always been it's always got a big part in my heart, the St. Nicholas community over there. I went to Crespi Carmelite High School in Encino, California. That's where I graduated in 1991. And Crespi is a Carmelite school, Carmelite Catholic school, carries a lot of the values that the Greek school did before that. And so a lot of the influence that I have is from the Catholic school background and the Greek school background, in terms of understanding the role of being a part of something greater than yourself, and understanding the role of community and the role of a brotherhood or a sisterhood or a communityhood, so to speak, that uplifts. And so that carried over quite a bit. After that, I started in college at UCLA. I also went to Western Governors University thereafter, University of San Diego, and Wilmington University out here when I came over here. So with that, I was able to pick up a master's degree in education, educational leadership as well, and a degree in biology. So I was an AP biology teacher for a while when I started in my career, AP chemistry teacher. I even taught Spanish, Spanish 1. And then I became a department chair in a private school. And from there, I actually applied to become a public school teacher at a charter school, which was 91% free and reduced lunch, 100% minority students, and 40 kids per class, one teacher, no aides, very difficult situation. But it isn't the difficulty that I talk about, because it was the most transcendent moment of my career. Was after 3 months of being at Bright Star Secondary, where I learned that everything that I had been taught could only be harnessed if I found a way to make relationships with people. And that going up there and showing everybody what I know and what I can hear, look at all this stuff I know about biology, and look at all that, was not resonating with kids. Because those kids needed love, those kids needed support, those kids needed an advocate, those kids needed somebody to be there for them. They didn't need somebody to tell them how great they were, right? And I remember it so poignantly because I was in my first biology class that I was teaching, and it was 3 months in, and 40% of the kids were failing my class. And I said to myself, and that's coming from a private school before that, where I had great AP scores and everybody was doing great. But I hadn't realized what a huge education gap there is between what happens in a private school and what happens when you have means versus what happens when you're in a very high needs public school, where you don't have all of those wonderful things available to you, and the classes aren't 20 kids per class, and you don't have that nurturing environment over there. You literally have 40 kids in a class that are coming from the most difficult situations, and they're taking a bus 2 hours each way, leaving at 4 in the morning, and then going back to their homes, walking through horrible neighborhoods at 7 o'clock at night, rinse and repeat every day. And then you're wondering why those kids are having a little bit of a struggle learning in the classroom. I didn't do that. I went to school 8 in the morning. I had breakfast with Yaya running behind me, spoon feeding me. I wasn't worrying about whether I had a safe pathway, or I wasn't worrying about I better catch the 4 o'clock bus or else I'm not going to be able to go to school today. Or am I going to find my family intact when I get home? And so I went through a huge mind shift after 3 months and learned very quickly social awareness and what the social inequity was in education. And from that point forward, that became kind of a springboard to the way that I operated moving forward. In today's society, we're in a very multicultural environment here in the United States. The ultimate experiment, melting pot theory, having a lot of different diverse cultures. So it's always going to be a little bit of a challenge to be able to preserve your cultural values and make sure that your kids are carrying on that legacy. But I think that's part of the essence of being Greek. It is part of the important piece of being a Greek or of Greek descent is the responsibility of carrying the legacy. And it isn't just the legacy of our own personal family over the couple of generations that made their way over here, but rather the legacy that was built over 2,500 years ago, and the essence of what that brings to society today and what we're able to see in a successful society as a result of what was done first across the globe almost 2,500 years ago. But to be specific, how do I personally preserve it? Number one, our kids do go to church. They were a part of the community. They did Goya. My son was an altar boy. They went to Sunday school. They did Greek dance while we were still at St. Nicholas. And then when we moved over here to the East Coast, we're now a part of the Holy Trinity community here in Wilmington, Delaware, of which they're both still a part of. So once again, the church was instrumental in creating the vehicle, so to speak, for how we were going to be able to integrate it. Now at home specifically, obviously, we have a lot of traditions, cooking traditions being number one, making sure that we make vasilopides. I make a fantastic fanuropita that I learned how to make, and we carry those on, make bugates. During Christmas, melomakarona, kurabiedes, tsurekia, the whole 9 yards. So they get a feel for that. We always dye eggs red on Thursday evening. And my daughter now has taken it on. We take a lot of pride in making sure they're really nice red color and shiny. So a lot of those little traditions are part of us. My family has been a big proponent of that. My mom actually even did café mandia. If you know anything about that, she would read the coffee grains and do the fizzani. So she'd flip them over and her friends would gather. And that was a big piece of it as well. And that's really one of the ways that we preserve our culture is through what we learn from our parents and our grandparents. And so my grandmother, who lived in the senior citizens homes that they had at St. Nicholas over there, that was a big piece of me learning how to be Greek as well, watching her and how she acted and what she did. That carried on to me, and now it's carrying on to my kids. I had just finished graduating my first senior class at Rise High School in Los Angeles, which is the high school for which I authored the charter. And I received a call from a headhunter that gave me information about a Greek school. They said, I think you would be perfect for this. I didn't really have my resume out anywhere. They just called me through LinkedIn. And I said, Melissa, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean Greek school? There's a Greek public school in Delaware that teaches Greek language and Hellenic values to non-Greek kids. I said, that seems unbelievable to me. And so it did perk my interest. I think that part of the fact that during that time it was COVID, and so I had spent at least 8 months away from the school that I had built personally. And naturally that develops a little bit of a barrier almost, because you're not going to work every day, you're not continually doing the work that you've been doing. And so it almost lended itself in some sort of fate, I guess, or destiny, for me to have that opportunity at that time during COVID to investigate what was going on over here. And so I flew over here and I saw the school and I was blown away. I couldn't believe what I saw over here. I couldn't believe that this is what we were trying to do. And I think the part of it that is so fascinating to me, and I do believe that there's always something greater than ourselves in everything that we do, and I do believe that the universe speaks to us often. And you never know what your calling is and why it's going to be your calling. And this was that moment. where you can take something that's so uniquely as being raised Greek and then somehow integrate that into what you've done your entire professional career in a way that you could never have imagined could have happened. How could those two worlds marry themselves? I have been an educational advocate for equity and making sure that all kids have incredible opportunities so that they can educate themselves, because I absolutely believe that that's a key to success for all communities and uplifting all communities. And so that work was very passionate work that I was doing in LA to uplift those communities. But I had never figured out how to really integrate my own upbringing as a Greek into that world, other than the fact that Rise's symbol was the Triton and our motto was Ain Aristeven. So I did integrate a little bit of those themes, but the school was not a Greek school. And so I came over here, I saw what we were doing. I said, this is absolutely phenomenal. And I understood then. I understood what my destiny was and what I was supposed to be doing. And all of that experience in those 2+ decades in public education and private education in Los Angeles were training me to become the leader of this organization and carry the torch and bear the torch for this organization moving forward. And I do it very proudly now. We moved my entire family from California, uprooted all of our friends, 45 years of being founding members of St. Nicholas Church. My parents' names are on the back wall over there as donors and things like that. Being the second graduating class ever of St. Nicholas School, one of its first head altar boys. Such an integral part of that. Booth captain at the Greek Festival. Running one of the booths over there at our Valley Greek Festival, and being such a large part of the community. Our Kubati, both godparents on both sides, they're all from Los Angeles. Taking all of that and saying, there's something bigger, there's something more that I'm supposed to be doing. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that my family sacrificed like that, and now I understand. Now I understand why we did all of this and why we had to do what we did. And that links back to who I am as a human, what I said before about we carry the responsibility of our legacy on our shoulders. And so we always have to listen to how it is that we are supposed to be giving back to our communities, and how are we supposed to be giving back to our own ancestors as well. And this was the key piece to it. So now here I am as the executive director over here, and we could talk a little bit about what we've been doing since I've gotten here.
Yeah, let's hear a little.
But I'll tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't a school that was open when I got here. We were in the middle of COVID. We really didn't have an opening plan yet, how we were going to reopen the school. And it was almost everything that we knew that was wrong with COVID was exactly what I walked into, and was and what this needed, what the organization needed, was something to breathe life back into it. It was almost like you were walking into a museum. You'd walk the hallways and you'd see assignments and their postmarks from, a few months ago or from the previous year, and you'd look around and it was like you were walking through a time capsule. And so we had to take it from that into becoming the vibrant organization that it is today. So since coming here, our community has come together to support us. The AHEPA has been instrumental in supporting us over here as well. And so has the board of directors here at Odyssey, and the community at large, who has a yearning for something as special as a school like this. What I didn't understand when I got here was just how large of an impact Odyssey could make. I didn't understand that we could be one of the top nonprofits in the state, and one of the top nonprofits in the sense of who we employ organizationally over here. We have over 500 employees that work for Odyssey Charter. That is a huge organization. I didn't understand that we could create an impact where 2,500 students are attending the school, where over 2,300 families are being impacted positively through the impacts of Odyssey Charter School. And so when you come into it, you know that there's something there, and you know that it's your destiny, and you see the pieces there. But I could have never expected that all of that would have led to where we are today, which is now opening up, our own immersion school, its own standalone, the only one of its kind in the entire country, arguably the only one outside of Greece. where 98% of kids are not of Greek descent, or they're non-native speakers, and they're learning how to speak Greek, and they're carrying the torch of Hellenic Paideia for the next generation. And that is unbelievable work that we're doing. The school's plan and my plan definitely coincide. So when I got here, we only occupied a few of the buildings. We didn't even occupy all the buildings yet. So the first strategic part of the plan, which was called Odyssey Reimagined, was to occupy all of our buildings that we had and make sure that we can increase our impact, because we had such an extensive wait list over here and we needed to be impacting more students. So one of the first things that we did was address the wait list that we have over here and make sure that as many kids as possible have the opportunity. And then the next step was to provide a world-class facility. And so you all were part of it as well, the grand opening of the Omniplex, which is a 6-sport multiplex, one of the most state-of-the-art ones and a great one in the state. It's being used by the entire community, private clubs, kids are on there all the time having a great time, graduation ceremonies, things like that. What an amazing community unifier that has been. And now we're taking on the last piece over here in 27, where we're opening up an entire immersion K-8 school. So all of our K-8 students at immersion will be housed in that one place. Now past that, we do have some things that we're looking at moving forward. Our goals in the future definitely include spreading Hellenic Paideia to whoever wants to have Hellenic Paideia. And so, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So whatever communities need more of what we have, that is our goal. And I would take it one step further and say that the innovation that we're bringing as a result of having Hellenic Paideia is something that is going to revolutionize the way that we look at education moving forward. Because we're not just creating Greek language speakers, we're creating activated citizens that can actually go out there and reason and think creatively and critically and problem solve using the same ideas that Socrates, Plato, and our forefathers used to create one of the greatest societies of all time and the birthplace of Western civilization as we know it. And so that means that, sure, we should be looking at plans to expand Odyssey. Sure, we should be looking at plans to expand the impact, possibly in other locations, possibly in the expansion of this particular property. There's still another 2 football fields of property behind this. There's more expansion even within this property. Expanding our footprint within Delaware, expanding our footprint within the United States. And we are currently making those partnerships and relationships so that we can do exactly that. My philosophy on life has been determined or developed, shall I say, not determined. It's been developed through a lot of influences. I would say that the parish priest growing up helped me a lot. And you know what he taught me how to do? He taught me how to be decisive and poignant when I speak. And he was probably one of the best orators I have ever heard. His sermons were moving every time. The way he would do the Holy Week, specifically Holy Thursday, the crucifixion, you would get the chills. He was so good at that. And I subconsciously picked up a lot of those elements from him. And now a lot of the dramatic pause that I use, a lot of the choice of words, the repetition in certain phrases, I learned through watching him all of those years. And that was Father Spencer Kezios, who's now at Himadriti. And may he continue to bless communities as long as it's God's will. He was instrumental. I would say in terms of the work ethic that I have, that came from my parents. It came from my father, who worked 3 jobs to make sure that we had what we needed. He worked at General Motors in Van Nuys. He also worked as a real estate agent, and he also worked other side jobs, plumbing, pipe fitting, to make sure that we could have a high quality education and we could have the things that we need growing up. And so I did understand from a very early age that that was an important part of who I was. I also got that from both of my grandparents. My grandmother on the one side was a seamstress here in Los Angeles, what today we would call sweatshops. And I got to see how hard that was. But you know what I always admired about my grandmother Maria is that she was never poor. She always was rich, but not rich because there was a lot of money in her accounts. She was rich because she lived a rich life. And she always had money to give me if I needed something. She always had a hardiliki for me. It was unbelievable. On $300 a month, she always had money for me. How's that even possible? And then my grandmother on my mom's side, Pelagia, who was cleaning staircases all the way until she was in her late years, because both of them were Hiras on both sides. So I understood how hard it is, and I understood what work ethic is. And that's what I mean by carrying the legacy and the burden and the responsibility of your ancestry forward, so that you can make a vision or a philosophy for how things work. So then you ask me, what is my philosophy? The essence of my philosophy is, number one, you have to go get it. It doesn't come to you, you have to go get it. But what I did learn is that not only is money not everything, but what I learned is that you can live the richest life by simply always finding a way to be positive about things. And to understand that even your greatest failured moments are just learning opportunities, and they are designed to make you a better version of yourself moving forward. So instead of accepting that as a defeat, you take it as an opportunity to understand that it is you fulfilling your ayin aristevin, it is you fulfilling your destiny, and it is you understanding that tapandari, everything flows. And from that we should take those lessons and we should carry them on with us. So you got to be positive, you got to go get it, you have to work hard. There's no substitute for hard work in this world, and you have to be a little bit lucky too.
Elias Pappas, thank you for talking with us at Cosmos Philly. We wish you all the best of luck here at Odyssey. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. Namaste Kala.